Alright, so in today's video, I got the Platinum Trophy on a game called Bum Simulator. Now, I guarantee 99% of you have never even heard of this game, and guess what? That makes me sad. Because Bum Simulator is by far the funniest and honestly best joke or meme game, if you want to categorize it like that, in which I've ever played. There isn't a trophy guide for it because it's so underrated, but it takes under 10 hours to complete, as my own personal experience can show. It contains only 34 trophies with the Platinum, and one is missable, but it's not until the very ending of the game's main story, so you don't need to worry about anything while playing. Bum Simulator first opens up with the title screen, obviously, and it just has the bum you play as in view, absolutely tweaking out. I already love this game. But then the game's plot setting opens up, and yes, we are a bum. And you literally play as a bum in a city. That is the game. And it's fucking beautiful, baby. But you also get introduced to a talking shopping cart named Carl, who was our guide and quest giver, best friend, lover even, if you will, for the entirety of the game. He also doubles as an inventory, vehicle, and comic relief. I actually don't think I've ever seen such utilization of one single entity in my entire life. That is crazy. But you also see the game's villain and evil team, if you will, of the day being named quite literally Evil Way. And the entire game's plot is us trying to work up a ragtag team and break into Evil Way because they zap Carl as a human into a shopping cart, and he obviously wants to not be a shopping cart forever. I mean, unless you're into that, we got some weird stuff nowadays. But the initial tutorial for this game had us just doing bum activities and stealing food and items from the nearby trash to sustain our livelihood. Carl then yaps to us about getting our shit together, and we are off riding him, following his directions to the next tutorial mission. It led us to the first quest giver of the game, a fellow bum in arms. His name is Bugsy, and he gave us our very first mission, as I stated, which was then to beg for money and raise $10 from the fine folk of Bum City. Yes, that's the actual name of the city we live in. Imagine telling that to a girl online and trying to rizz up. Yeah, I live in Bum City. That's almost like saying you work for Ubisoft in 2025. Anyways, sorry for the stray. I'm still recovering from last video. Brutal work. Oh my god! But you also get to make a sign to help you beg for money, and I chose to write balls on it because I thought that might be funny, and the people of Bum City need a laugh. For Christ's sake, we are living in Bum City. You then just begin to beg around, and begging is a very simple mechanic. Just press R2 on anyone, and they either give you a random sum of money or make fun of you for begging for money with a sign that says balls. Either outcome is understandable. Eventually, once I did conjure up 10 clams, I returned back to Bugsy, and that 10 buckaroos is actually payment for our pigeon. Because all bums need a pigeon. It's like a spirit animal. So we went to get the pigeon only to find another bum gatekeeping it from us. Literally, he was behind a gate. So we did the only reasonable thing and began to piss all over him, which in turn enraged the man. And I then punched him in the face. This game is a masterpiece. Put it in the Louvre. With the pigeon now acquired, we are basically set to go take over the streets, and we even used the pigeon to take out an evil bum with a sniper shot to the dome. He might not get back up, especially since bums have no health insurance. You then head over to Pigeon Lady and had to fight a ton of evil bums who are a part of a gang, you could say, and terrorize you the entire game. But defeating them is never hard regardless. I then talked to Pigeon Lady, whom we just saved, and she really serves almost zero purpose in this game. I think on the PC version she has a bit more inclusion, but on the current version you can't really do much. However, once she got done yapping her ass off, I leveled up and got the first trophy of the game from reaching level 2. We were then set off on our own journey to really begin doing whatever you want, either following the main story or detouring off to side things instantly. And me being the ADHD motherfucker that I am, I had to interact with the first side quest giver of the game. His name is Richman, and you can tell he's rich by the giant green suit he is wearing. Someone's prepping for St. Patrick's Day, even though that was last month. But he sends us on a mission to, and I quote, piss on fancy people. Yes, we are now off to pee on people that even somewhat threaten Richman's rule over the fancy attire in Bum City. And finding 10 people wearing suits inside of Bum City was actually quite hard because of, I mean, you know, the obvious. So I really drew my luck with this one and got the last guys my time was ticking out. But I did do it, and then I actually got 2 trophies. First for making $25 total in the game, and then secondly for finishing Richman's initial quest of many. I then ran into another side character of the story, and it's a man named Mr. Jello, a clown in a suit with a hook for a hand. Where I'm from, they call that a fun time, if you know what I'm saying. But that's besides the point. We all have past trauma. And he again functions much like Richman does, just giving us quests to do for them. In return, we got to have fun and make some dough. But Mr. Jello's quests were much more violent, and we had to escort a bomb tied to Carl the shopping cart to its destination. And once you make it there, hopefully in one piece, it then just blows up and destroys a fine establishment that probably put food on the plates of families, or was a Ponzi scheme. It's one of the two. Also, you did have to escape the cops as well after, which is just dandy. I then found Richman again and would end up just grinding his questline out because it's one of the most fun and funny things in this game. The second objective he had us do was just flipping off police officers because 12. I grew up in the hood as well, so this was personal for me. But the following one was a bit more violent and also unironically hard to complete. It's from making cars hit 5 people, and the method I use is by knocking them out and then dragging people in front of the cars. But with the added police force of this game and me being basically at base stats still with no skills, I had a lot of trouble doing this within the time frame. So I probably spent longer attempting this than the average person would, but it's alright because I did it eventually. And the following mission from Richman was the final one, having us just knock out 10 people with fists. I was going to use my wiener, so it's good to clarify. And while in the process of brutally punching citizens who have no idea what's happening, I got 2 trophies. One from getting my first blueprint of the game used in base crafting, and another from my first feather of the game used to, it's to be determined. I then completed that quest finally, knocking out the last dude I needed to, and got given enough money to reach $50 of total cash and a trophy pot because of that. I also do stand corrected because Richman returned again. Sorry, I got excited and came in too early, if you know what I mean. But this one was the finale, and it was from running over people 15 times with Carl. A task so easy I did it first try, and this might be classified as vehicular manslaughter if you got a good enough judge to try me. But once I did complete that, the trophy from Richman's questline then popped and we say goodbye to a very shady man. But a gorgeous one, if that. And now that the lights are off, the fun is done, it was time to go back to reality. And that reality is, we are still a bum despite having a massive fun in our pockets. You then get introduced to base building within the main story, which is a feature of this game like many others. And if you guys know me, I've never been too fond of base building, especially in games that aren't survival games. It just kind of seems dumb, but that's just me. After a while though, I did move on to other things than jerking off the base aesthetics, and I went to complete some more side activities, first being the shooting range practice events. This is a shooting range activity with the pigeon, and in my opinion, it's kind of hard. My aim on controller is questionable, however, but you can also get a lot of pigeon upgrades to make these easy, so I reluctantly left the first one in a feat of rage and disappointment to do other things for the time being, and I just walked over to the beach to conquer the first of many enemy bases, getting to level 8 in the process and a trophy pop from that. After a few more waves of enemy bum, I would then finish the enemy base off and get a trophy from conquering my first base of the game. There is quite a few of these in addition to this one in our first base, but you get a trophy from conquering them all, so we gotta abuse people. It's not my choice. I mean, if it was my choice, I would still do that anyways, but that's another story. However, seeing as I just leveled up, I actually used some skill points to upgrade the pigeon recharge speed, and then I went back to the shooting range I just failed on so disappointingly. This time completing it with ease and getting the first shooting range trophy of the game. And as I just mentioned about the bases having a few locations, so does the shooting range, of course, and they are sort of scattered nearby each other throughout Bum City, so I chose to move away from the main story and side quests and just go chase down both the all base completion trophy and the all shooting range completion trophy. Thanks to a few maps I found on the internet, I also didn't really have any trouble doing these, ending up with finishing the shooting ranges first for that trophy called Perfect Aim. It's anything but that, my brother, I have to admit it. But then I would end up finishing the last enemy base right after that for a trophy in addition popping next. So with those both done, there really isn't any more open world events to do aside from just side quest and the main story, which led me to doing the first of Mr. Jello's side quest line here. Now I previously did do a mission for him, but it was actually part of the main quest line for some reason. However, this time it was solely for his own perverted explosion needs. And he gave us the hardest one first, and I could not find my way to the objective marker in time on numerous tries, and I just ended up accepting my fate after a while. But once I did open my eyes up and look at the surrounding area, I found the right path to take, and it turns out it actually wasn't that complex, finishing with over 10 seconds remaining, enough time to slightly run away before it blows up. And blow up it did. I then escaped the cops once more like before, and I got 2 trophy pops. First for completing one of Mr. Jello's quest lines, and then secondly for reaching level 15 in the game. And like usual with the previous side quest I completed, I chose to track down Mr. Jello across the map and do all of his so I could check that off in my head. And I managed to do them very easily actually, so I wasn't even kidding when I said his first one was the hardest one. But I also love hard things, so it's chill. Anyways, here's that trophy from his quest line completion, and let's move on to bigger and better things. By that, I mean the main story. Yes, I finally did it. And it had Carl talking to an intercom lady outside of the Evil Way Tower, begging, pleading even to get let in. He was not allowed back in for obvious reasons, but a doctor from the corner of her eyes just beckons us over for a little chat. And I don't know about you, but if a doctor covered in blood asks you to come speak with him in private, I think you're required to, or else you get arrested, I imagine. But this doctor's name is Dr. W. East, and he's just another side character within the story. Also, he has 2 trophies like the others for his quest completions. But before any of that, he had us do some alchemy, and we made a beer bottle concoction called the Fusto beer, which is a reference to Skyrim. And if you don't believe me, just look at that word of power shout. This feels like that one scene in Free Guy, and it's amazing. But after that was over, we just unlocked another tool to use, being the Skyrim beer. And I would then begin the first of few quests for the doctor. And he might not be the most trustworthy man out there in the medical field, but really who is, am I right? Big Pharma, okay. But yeah, his objectives all consisted of us knocking out certain people and throwing them in big metal containers for research. First being just people in nice suits. they're rich, am I right? And here's that first quest trophy pop once I got 5 of them in there. I then had to do that same thing but with bald people, and then also with people just in swimsuits. And here's a pro tip for you guys: do not attempt this at night. It turns out after the movie Jaws released back in 1934, people don't do night swims on the beach. But during the day, I got it done easily and then finished the doctor's very disturbing idea of research with his trophy popping. And that was sadly the last bit of fun your boy would have for a hot minute, because Bum Simulator does have a teeny weeny bit of a grind inside of it. You have to fully upgrade 3 different types of pigeon skills, which are done by building 3 different pigeon coops, then upgrading them all twice. And you also need this for the main story along with the trophies for them, obviously. So I kind of just locked in and did this. I had to research a little bit how to get certain materials and also do my personal experience. Found good ways to speed this up as much as I could. Ultimately though, it did take an hour or 2 of base building to get these banged out. The first trophy I got was just from finishing the pigeon shuriken, which is the initial one we were using, then the pigeon peckers, which is another type, and finally the pigeonado, which is the best one by far. I then just got a random trophy while using some of these skills in the real world from reaching respect rank 10. You get 1 respect ranked every time you save a fellow bum, so yeah, that's how it works. The main story then led us to the sewers when we met some rat people. The leader of them I think is a joke at Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but don't quote me on that. For all we know, he could be Mr. Miyagi back at it again. Anyways, these rats become kind of our business partners and help us with the ending of the game. However, before that, I just did the rat girl named Trixie's entire side quest line, but she was the last one, so it was nice, don't worry. And her entire quest line is just about us launching her up to steal treasure with our pigeon powers, because apparently rats have 0 leap. Anyways, the treasure every time was just a ton of alcohol, so that's cool. You can actually sell that in this game for good money though, so I'm not even complaining. And in order to finish off the main story, which isn't very long, there was sadly another long pause, and it just had us doing numerous crafting of things for this machine we had stolen. And it turns out charging a battery is a lot harder than just plugging it in. Who would have thought? The next trophy I got, however, was actually from getting 10 feathers from randomly picking them up when I saw them, which was actually a bad idea because tracking the remaining 40 later will be confusing due to me snatching these now. It's still a trophy though. Anyways, I got the battery needed for the machine all charged up, and then I placed these antennas all around the map, which led us to a transmission coming from the final boss in which we needed to defeat, and they were deep underground. Now, since we were a bum, we cannot afford a flashlight. Thankfully, our piss glows. Childhood trauma, ladies and gentlemen. It truly does stick with you. Jokes aside though, this glowing piss mechanic in the game inside of 2025 has officially brought back my hope for gaming to be fun again. It really does. After following your glowing pea through the darkness, you eventually reach the boss room, and this is also where the one missable trophy can be done, just by skipping the cutscene of him introducing himself. And the trophy then pops once you do. Funnily enough, the game also breaks the 4th wall, and the guy gets mad at you for skipping his monologue, so he restarts, and he will continue to do that until you watch it. I love that so much, bro. I can't even begin. Anyways, the boss fight itself didn't actually have you fight the big scary guy, just a ton of enemies he threw in at us, which got me dangerously low on HP, and I almost died, I'm not gonna lie, it was way too close. But I did survive, and ultimately Carl, the talking shopping cart, will not become a human again, and it's just stuck us in a mortal shopping cart. So yeah, that's Bum City, ladies and gentlemen. After all the cutscenes, the final story trophy would then pop. Some credits rolled, and I had a voice actor lose his shit the entire time, which was a lot more funny than the typical music. How lame.
And before we start here, I gotta make sure my phone's off.
I love you, bitch.
So now it's technically the cleanup part of this game's trophies, but seeing as there really isn't a guide out there, I just kind of went about these how I saw fit, chasing down all the feathers first because that's the biggest collectible of any in the game. And I would end up reaching level 30 while doing this before any of the feather trophies, so here's that. I then did just get 25 feathers, and following that, 50 for both of those trophy pops. The only other collectible and collectible trophies of the game were then both from finding blueprints, and there's only 19, so it's much less than the feathers, and I found 10 right here. Shout out to collectible maps for real. I did have 2 more trophies to get, however, which were a bit more annoying. First, I had to reach $500 in total at one time, not cumulative throughout the game. And the only way to really make money is from begging, at least the quick way that is. So I deadass just ran around for 30 minutes straight begging like a little bitch. But I tried my best to draw some art so the citizens felt as if they were donating to an artist and not an autist. Once reaching $500, however, the trophy did pop finally. And my last trophy was in from reaching rank 50 in respect. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is just from saving 50 bums in the game. And the only way to save them is just run around until they show up on the minimap, go over, and save them. I did 50 eventually and got the trophy with the King of Bums Platinum Trophy popping along with it. So that was the Bum Simulator Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, I think that might be the funniest game I've ever played aside from maybe High on Life. It was 100% my humor, genuinely good writing, and yeah, I just loved it. I didn't really say all the funny things that occurred in it, but hopefully you guys got a good sense of it and don't think I'm lying out of my ass. But regardless, that was the Bum Simulator Platinum Trophy. Rating it out of 10, I'll give it a solid 7. The crafting was kind of annoying as shit to all things considered, but still a great game for what it was. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I am not doing the Rockstar Challenge anymore, at least for the time being. If you're wondering, I can't handle those games, dude. They're too old to play in the big 2025. Rest in peace, controller. Yeah, that That controller's gone, dude. That controller is fucked.